You're listening to I Have Some Notes, a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported.
Hey, Scott, I got a movie pitch for you.
Great, hit me with it.
Hang on a second, boys.
Founder of the Alberta Podcast Network, Karen Unland, what are you doing here?
Well, in honor of your 100th episode, I wanted to give you guys a gift.
Oh, that's nice of you. What is it?
I've brought your original host, Colin MacIntyre, back to your show using my interdimensional podcast portal.
Hey, guys.
Incredible! You have an interdimensional podcast portal.
Yeah, they give them out to all the popular podcast hosts.
Oh, ours must have gotten lost in the mail then.
Sure. Anyway, have a great show.
Where does she get those wonderful toys?
Hey, I have a pitch for a Tim Burton Batman.
I have some notes.
Welcome everyone to I Have Some Notes, the movie podcast with cuts, keeps, punch-ups, and tweaks on mediocre movies as suggested by you. I'm your host, Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
I'm Greg Beaver.
And today we are discussing the cinematic classic 1989's Batman, but frankly we're kind of burying the lead with Batman here. Rarely is Batman not the main event, but in this case, take a hike, Bruce. We'll get to you in a minute. This is our 100th movie review notarizing.
Yeah,
Fix. 100th movie fix. And we are joined today by the founder of this podcast, along with Greg, one of the original host, Colin MacIntyre. Hello, Colin.
Gentlemen, I am so pleased and honored to be here. It's thank you very much for having me on this wonderful world-bending occasion.
Colin, when you started this podcast, did you ever expect that it would make it to 100 movie fixes? And also, did you expect you would not be part of the podcast after about the second season?
No. I think as I recall, when Greg and I were talking about this, we kind of talked about it in this idea of seasons, right? Like a TV show, and I think it was kind of just like, well, let's just do a season and let's see how it goes. And if we want to keep doing it, we'll keep doing it. And so, yeah, I didn't expect Greg, you and I, we had a chat not that long ago, and we started this, this podcast started 6 years ago. Was that what it was?
That's right. Yeah.
Gosh, does anyone remember the world from 6 years ago? Because I sure don't.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, I think, the first recording was, on my kitchen table in our little apartment downtown. So,
Yeah.
So, I think
everyone was around that old shitty Yeti mic, that silver one that everyone has. That's terrible.
I think
the one I am currently using to record this podcast. Yes.
Yeah, but no, super. So I think even as far as podcasts go, I mean, how many podcasts you can get to 100 episodes, right? So I think this is so. Congratulations to you guys. You guys have taken a run with it, and I think this is pretty awesome to get to 100 episodes.
Well, we 100 fixes.
We had 140 some episodes.
Oh, right, yeah, the side notes.
All the side notes. Yeah.
100 fixes. Yeah, it's still pretty good. Yeah.
So 100 full episodes, I guess we'll call them. We had, Karen Unland off the top in a cameo role in the intro there. And, we honestly, I kind of doubt that we would have gotten as far as we would have without the Alberta Podcast Network.
Yeah.
Because, them setting up, the network for local creatives and allowing us to defer the costs of hosting and equipment and those kind of things, it made such a huge difference. And just it would be really difficult to keep doing the show as passionate as we are about it, at a loss for 6 years straight. Eventually that starts to hurt. So yeah, it's a huge thing for us that we were taking on so early by the podcast network for sure.
Now, is there I have the question from my end, is there like an Alberta podcast network like Centennial Club? Like, do you guys all get like special smoking jackets now, kind of like the Saturday Night Live like 5 host club, like that sort of thing?
Hopefully our interdimensional portal is on the way.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's Quantum Kickflip. We got a bunch of those. That's Little Rub. It's my other podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. What was some of the criteria for the movies? Like, was it always mediocre movies? Like, what went into deciding what those first movies were gonna be?
I think that was my vision had always been, really, the first episode was Man of Steel, and that was, at the time, that was a movie I kept thinking about, that just like, cinematically I liked it. You know, it was just a really interesting movie, but like, the script was just not good. It just didn't come together. And I often thought about like, what would make that a better movie? And that germ started to churn into like what the podcast became. And eventually it was our first episode as well. So yeah, like I'd always kind of envisioned, movies that were kind of just not great and in sort of that mediocre sweet spot.
Yeah, I think it just even like like movies that were I think I've always thought this sweet spot was and I think Man of Steel was a good example. It was a very big, very popular movie, but wasn't a great movie. So I think that was the one thing I kind of liked about the podcast and just sort of being able to explore is, okay, why are these movies, they're not great, so what's how can we make them better movies? But but they're obviously also like very popular as well. So yeah, I think it was just like, and I think there's a plethora of those movies out there, right? Where it's like big budget, pretty big, characters or well-known stories and stuff like that, or just very big, massive movies that are just, kind of stinkers, and just, and how to make them just a little bit better.
You know, the one thing that made me feel really good about the show, this was a few episodes ago, we had Olav on, and he had mentioned something about how our show comes at movies from a really constructive approach. Like, we don't really, sometimes we take dumps on movies, but like, it's more coming at it from sort of like a love of film than it is like just shitting on a movie just to shit on it. And that, like, I really appreciated that compliment, because it made me feel sort of justified in like that the concept was really sound from the outset.
Yeah, I think he had said that every movie has something worth salvaging, or has something good about it that we can try to build off of and improve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that was even the criteria too early on, where it was just like, okay, there's a certain level of movie. Like, I think it was just like, we can't fix this because we just need to blow it up and just restart it from scratch. So I think there was, it's like, okay, it has to be, and I think we even had discussions, when we're talking about which movies to do. Like, there were some movies that were just like, no, this can't be saved. We have to like literally redo everything. So it's like, okay, no, there has to be, the bones have to be there to kind of improve it. And that's actually one of my favorite things about this podcast. And I think it makes a good point. Just like the construction, and I think for listeners who go back to older episodes, like the best parts of we make fun of it and you guys make fun of it, but it's like it's where the movie gets rebuilt. I think is always really solid, and I think there's always like some great ideas and some great suggestions there, and I'd be like, I'd watch the heck out of that rebuilt movie.
I will say that I think it was the first time I guessed it on an episode where I was explicitly told page 1 rewrites were not allowed. You had to take what was already there and punch it up. And on that note, like, even the process over the course of 100 movie fixes has evolved, because originally everybody came to the table with their own blueprint for how to fix the movie, and over time it's kind of morphed into a much more collaborative sort of roundtable. And I must say that collaborative element to this podcast is one of the things that's kept me on it, because it's a lot of fun to work with you guys and with our guests episode after episode and brainstorm together and come up with something like magical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we almost like I was thinking about it the other day about like the kind of niches that we've sort of fallen into. Like, Scott usually has like the big idea, you know? Like he's got like he'll usually start the fixes off, and he's got like a pretty good breadth of what he wants to do with the film. And I typically have smaller fixes or working off something that Scott's doing, or I get fixated on one particular scene that I really want to change. And I was like, Liam's kind of like the wild card, because like occasionally he'll do the things that I do, but also occasionally he's got like a massive amount of notes, just like a catalog of notes that he's ready to lay down. So yeah, it's a really great sort of mixture that we've managed to come together on.
Yeah, it's I like the round table element of it as well. For some movies, I was trying to think like, yeah, what is my style? And I think it is just like once you start moving pieces around, you have to like pick up the part that's actually what I ran into with Batman here. I'm like, oh, if I move too much, I start making problems for myself. Yeah. And oftentimes how much notes I have is either how much of that or how earnestly am I engaging with the movie, where I'm like, this movie didn't even put this much effort in. Why am I gonna?
Right.
So those are sometimes my favorite episodes, Liam. It's just like where you've decided that like the movie has offended you in some way.
Here's the thing, though. You're carrying on the grand tradition left by Colin, who regularly would suggest just make it a musical. And those are sometimes the suggestions you bring, where you're just like, you know what? Let's do something crazy. You know what? Here's just a ludicrous idea. Let's roll with it. And sometimes it works really well.
Yeah. I remember specifically on like the superhero type movies, like Colin would have some sort of like deep lore type addition that he always wanted to add. Like I'm thinking specifically of was it Justice League or something like that, where your idea was like we needed to kill a Green Lantern, as I recall, right?
Yep. You need to kill Green Lantern. Yep.
And I think that eventually happened, didn't it? Did they kill a Green Lantern in the Zack Snyder extended?
Yes, they did actually. Yeah. By the way, I'm really Zack Snyder this whole time.
Oh, wow.
You've made some choices.
No, Zach, get away. You've had your chance with Batman.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that brings us to today. Colin, what made you suggest Tim Burton's Batman?
Two things. So I guess I thought it might be a good idea. So actually, yeah, Greg was like, here's some movies we're thinking of, which movie you're thinking of. And I kind of thought, actually it was three things. So number one, Batman obviously is kind of in the now right now with the new film. We've got Michael Keaton coming back as Batman in the whatever. It's like is it the Flash or Batgirl? I can't keep it straight. He's coming
Flash.
back. There's probably other Bat things happening. So that was one. So I thought, okay, it's somewhat topical. Number two, I thought it might be a nice sort of like, since the podcast started with Man of Steel, to maybe like circle back around to Batman, right? And I think I think Batman's been a recurring character on this podcast in various shapes and forms. So
for sure.
But number three, I would say Batman was like the first time I'd ever watched a movie, and I was 10 when Batman came out. That's how old I am. Like and it was the first time I watched a movie and went, something's not right here. And that was like the germs and the seed of I have some notes planted in my brain at 10 years old. And I was, Batman fan watching a Batman movie going like, and even now, even when I watch it, I'm like, there's something, it's great. It's wonderful. I think it's well loved. I think it deserves that love, but there's just something that's just, in the way it's built, it's sort of just always kind of nagged at me. And I still, even then, even watching it with my I have some notes brain, like I still can't quite put my finger on what it's missing. There's little things, but it's sort of like, but I thought, hey, what a great, and also like, okay, I'm going to leave it up to the experts now. 100 episodes, 100 movie fixes in, and you just leverage your guys' brain. So that was kind of like my thought process.
I will posit this, like it reminds me a little bit of my rewatch of Austin Powers when I watched it, I think sometime last year. And it's like the plot of Austin Powers is so loose, and it's just like a series of funny scenes sort of like loosely strung together. And Batman is like somewhat similar
Yeah.
in that like it's pretty loose for the most part, but the scenes that are strung together are individually are awesome, but it's just like that maybe the bones, like the tissue connecting them, isn't as strong as it could be.
Yeah, well, I actually watched it in little chunks as well. Like I didn't sit down and watch the whole thing. I just watched it in like little bits, and even then, it was really apparent. It was sort of just like, what's happening? Like yeah, you sort of forget when you watch it in chunks. You kind of forget what happened. It's all, but almost like nothing that happened previously has any bearing with what's happening now. It's kind of what
that's interesting because I have obviously seen this movie, but I was like, when I sat down and watched it start to finish for the podcast, I was like, I don't think I've watched this movie start to finish since I was a kid. Because I was 2 when this movie came out.
There you go.
Saw it on home video as a wee youngster. And then on television for the rest of my life in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Like this and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I've probably seen a dozen times, 24 times, 48 times, little chunks of it. So this is my first time with it all the way through since being a kid.
Scott, what was your experience like watching it?
I was just surprised at how well it held up, honestly. I have also seen it probably half a dozen times or more, but it has definitely been many years since I've watched it. Mm-hmm. And I was simultaneously taken by how much of it I remembered and surprised at how much of it I didn't.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
there's like large chunk of the movies of is like burned into my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, of course this is what he says here. But then it was like I had no idea he actually there was like that scene in like early on in the Batcave. I'm like, I don't remember this at all. Just hanging out and like showing the Batcave. Like, when did this happen? Like, is this a new cut? Like, what's happening?
No, I definitely got a bunch of that. Yeah. But overall, I was going in expecting it to be weaker than it was. And I was surprised at how well it hangs together, actually, for a 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie.
Yeah.
This movie can hang, for sure. Of course, directed by Tim Burton, written by Warren Scarron of Beetlejuice fame, based on characters by Bob Kane, and starring Michael Keaton as Batman, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, Pat Hingle as old Commissioner Gordon, Billy D. Williams as a tragically full-faced Harvey Dent, and Michael Goff as Alfred.
We were robbed of Billy D. Williams' Two-Face by Joel Schumacher, and I will never forgive him for that. I don't care that he's dead. I am speaking ill of him. He robbed us of Billy D. Williams' Two-Face. You did that, Joel Schumacher. That's you. You did that.
Bat nipples and no... Billy D.
I could forgive the bat nipples. I cannot forgive Billy D. Williams getting kicked out of the role.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Tim Blake Nelson in The Incredible Hulk. They were setting him up to be the leader, and then it never happened. I don't know who to blame, so I'm just going to blame Joel Schumacher. But
shall we hit the trailer? Or?
Yeah, let's go to the trailer.
I have given a name to my pain.
What are you? I'm Batman. Where did you get those wonderful toys?
My life is really complex.
Winged freak terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
The city of Gotham is turning 200 and the festival celebrations are on. Or at least they would be if not for a chemically burned psychopathic clown terrorizing the city. The mayor enlists the services of District Attorney Harvey Dent and Police Commissioner Gordon to help throw his party. Harvey and Gordon also love parties and agree, but neither seem up to the task. They just don't love festivals enough. Fortunately for them, a mysterious vigilante lurks in the shadows of Gotham's sweeping black vaults and arches. The Batman. Turns out, the Caped Crusader has a grudge against the Clown Prince of Crime who is responsible for his parents' deaths. Bats must fight his way through randomly spawning henchmen to defeat his foe and save the festival.
That's the thing that kept making me laugh when I was watching the Batman was the foes that just like jumped over fences and just appeared out of nowhere, or like in the climax when the Joker climbs the tower by himself, and then suddenly there's just a bunch of henchmen for Batman to fight at the top. It was great.
The best part of the Joker is that he keeps you guessing. He has henchmen just like stashed around the city for the eventuality he goes there and needs them to jump out. They basically they're paid to just stay there and wait.
In very stylish jackets. Yeah, very cool. Very cool Team Joker jackets.
Yeah, I do like those bomber jackets. They're pretty cool.
I was surprised Jack Nicholson got top billing. Like when the credits roll, his name comes up first.
He was probably the biggest star coming into this movie.
And I think that was part of the condition of him being the movie, was that like, no, I'm doing this. I'm first.
Wow.
Yeah, that was part of the deal among many other things.
And end up winding back the clock. Like, it was a bit of a controversy that Michael Keaton was cast as Batman at the time, right? Because he was a comedic actor in so comic book fans were not convinced that this would be a good casting choice.
The original comic book outrage. I think there was something I read that was like a petition with like 50,000 signatures went to the studio saying you can't have this guy as Batman, and
some things never change.
Just nerd outrage and just
everyone's got their hot takes on Batman.
Yeah, the saving grace for 1989 is that it took a lot longer for you to receive those messages.
When I get that stamp, I'm going to put that on that piece of paper and mail it in. I'm going to be so mad.
I will say, I am surprised at how restrained Tim Burton is in this movie. Like, it's very much a Tim Burton movie. You can tell it's a Tim Burton movie, but it's not a Tim Burton movie. And I would even go so far as to say that in comparison to the sequel, Batman Returns, it's less Tim Burton-y than that. That movie is much more Tim Burton-y. And it's surprising because this is right on the heels of Beetlejuice, which is, again, a very Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe because he's got Jack Nicholson's dollars and egos in play. Like, he's probably like, okay, this, one for me, one for them. Maybe not that cynical, but like, you got the keys to the sports car. You don't drive it like an asshole. Do that in your own car. Like,
well, I mean, he's a pretty talented filmmaker. Like, I think he knows, he knows when to turn it on and when to turn it off, I guess. Like, I mean, like
that's sort of what I'm trying to say. I made it sound like he was like, holding back. But yeah, I like his movies.
Yeah. Like, Planet of the Apes was not a very Tim Burton-y type movie. You can argue it's not a very good one either. But like, it's like he's got the ability to like move around a little bit. But you're right. Like, he's known for that particular style, so obviously like you're expecting some of that sort of flair, and there's no stop motion in it, as I recall. That a little bit of animation.
There's a little bit of animation.
There's a little bit of weird animation, that kind of has like a Tim Burton-y feel to it.
Oh, the armor on the car.
No, would that be stop motion? That one might be stop motion. I was thinking of the first time you see Batman. He's walking out of the light into a doorway, and you see his cape, but it's clearly like animated. They wanted it to wave a certain way, and it was just not something they could pull off with the costume, I think, because I think the costumes, like, it looked like it had like rigs in it, like it's just mostly made of like wires and stuff like that to make sure that it kind of puffed out the appropriate way.
Yeah, the costume really overshadows any Michael Keaton as Batman. Like, Michael Keaton made a good Bruce Wayne. Anyone in that suit is just a person wearing that suit, and then it's Batman. Like, the suit was the Batman.
The suit also was limiting, very obviously. Like, they could have done a better job of designing a suit that allowed him
it's like
to move.
An inch thick of rubber. Like, it's crazy. Like, he must have been sweating his balls off in that suit.
The Batman head turn, where you actually have to turn all your body all the way around to look at something. Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of what I'm saying, is it gets the kind of like the Kenny from South Park vibe, where it's like you lose the actor under the suit. And so, like, any time where I'm like, oh, Michael Keaton's doing a great job, it was as Bruce Wayne, and then it's the guy in a suit. Like, you don't get a lot of Michael Keaton through that suit.
Could have been anybody in the suit, yeah.
Yeah. The choreography is pretty understated whenever Batman is fighting. You notice that, like, the villains are doing most of the really cool stuff. Batman's kind of like, there's quite a few times where Batman just simply, like, puts out his hand and just, like, thunk. And boy, does he use that grappling hook a lot. That is his go-to. That's like his superpower. It's like the grappling hook.
The grapple hook, the gun that shoots the 2 grappling hooks, the gun that shoots, like, the bolo thing. It's like... Yeah, like gosh darn, that's great.
Various forms of grapple.
Yeah,
where does he get those wonderful toys? Probably the same place. Probably all from the grappling hook place.
Yeah.
From Wayne Enterprises grappling hooks division. Jack Nicholson is very good in this movie, you guys. Like, better than I remember him being in this movie. He is actually, like, he's clearly having a lot of fun, which works for the performance. He's exactly the right level of over the top. He's legitimately scary in a lot of places. Like, I think it's a great performance of the Joker. I think it might be top tier Joker.
Here's my question for you guys about him, the Joker. Is he so good as the Joker? Is he literally elevating the entire film? Like, if you take him out, is it not a great movie, or is it like, that was kind of my thought as I was watching it. And I'm just wondering,
really?
Yeah.
Both you, we're all coming down hard on we love Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Yeah.
Cause I couldn't not see Jack Nicholson. And then the few times where I could see through Jack Nicholson, it was Cesar Romero.
Oh it's very some Cesar Romero vibes. Yeah,
that's actually something that I quite liked about it, is that he was definitely channeling some of that '60s clown prince of crime in a way that, especially in the final fight, like with him with all the stupid gags and laughing to himself about all of his stupid jokes. I was like, this is campy '60s Batman, and I'm here for it. I love it. Because that's a level of the Joker that you just don't see anymore. The Joker is just always portrayed as a psychopath now, and it's almost refreshing to go back to the start and see him as, like, not just a crazy person, but a crazy person who thinks he's funny.
Yeah.
He's a homicidal artist, as he says, as he described himself. I'm like, actually, I quite like that. I was like,
maybe I'm just worn out of the Joker as like a murderous psychopath.
Yeah, that's possible.
Well, it's something in modern superhero movies that I don't think you get enough of, where the villain is also fun. You know, like the in comparison to this latest Batman movie that we got, which is good, but you know, there's not a lot of levity to the villain or anything like that, right? Like, it's a good, the villain's fine, the villain is good, but like, you're not having a real great time when they're on the screen. And in this Batman movie, every time the Joker's on screen, it's kind of a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he does a bad job. I just couldn't not see Jack Nicholson, and it was distracting. And I feel like tell anybody to be Cesar Romero and give him that great costume, I think would have done a good job. And I am lukewarm on Jack Nicholson in this movie. I realize I am very much in the minority. The internet, you guys, I'm aware.
I did find his makeup slightly distracting.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh, about how he keeps taking it on and off and on again?
Yeah.
No, just the prosthetic, like the prosthetic grin. I just like it just looked a little too unnatural to me, like, cuz it doesn't move at all. It just like, it just kind of it seemed to improve as the movie went on. The
weirdly
makeup got better. Yeah.
Maybe it's just we got used to it, but the first time I saw it, I was also like, "Ooh, am I okay with that?" And by the end of the movie, I was like, "I think I'm okay with that." So yeah, you know, here's the thing though. I realized I was the guy just a moment ago saying I could see him channeling some of that campy '60s Cesar Romero Joker. He still put his own stamp on it, because Cesar Romero was never as menacing as Jack Nicholson is in this movie. And there are some scenes where he is legitimately scary, and where you're like, "Oh, you in danger, girl! Like, you need to get out of there." And that's something that Cesar Romero's Joker never really was. And so I do feel like he's bringing something new to the character in this movie. It's not just him putting on Cesar Romero's Joker. It's him what's the word I'm looking for? It's him evolving that character. It's him borrowing from that and building on it, as opposed to just creating a new Joker
and just
whole cloth.
Generally having a great time with it.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like just
having fun.
Yeah, he's having a lot of fun. It seems like, you know, there's some subtle moments of his performance that I absolutely love. Like in the climax when he's kicking their hands off to try and make them fall off the building when they're just hanging onto the ledge. Batman and Vicky Vale, I mean. Yeah. He like that whole thing where he's just sort of like dancing up and down on this short ledge, and there's a moment where he almost falls and he just kind of falls back into it, and you get this awesome grin of like, oh, I almost bought it there. It's just like it's so good, like all the little ticks that he has and everything. I love that performance so much.
The score by Danny Elfman.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Like
Da-na.
there's a reason why it's still Batman's music today.
Yes.
Like when you see Batman show up, you still get the same leitmotif because Danny Elfman nailed it.
100%. 110%. Why you would want that job? Like, hey, we're making a new Batman movie. Do you want to make some music?
No, we'll just use Danny Elfman's music. Like,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I can. It won't work, but I can. Sure.
I'll tell you what. You pay me, and then I'll go and call Danny Elfman and just pay him the royalties out of that to just use his music again. Yeah. That's what we'll do.
We'll re-record it using xylophones or something. But
speaking of music, I have spent the whole week, a couple rotations, listening to the Prince album that accompanied this film, just to make sure I was doing my homework. It's a weird album. It's a lot of samples of dialogue from the movie over Prince music. It's a strange album, but there's a couple songs on there that slap.
Were those written specific for the movie, or they would just?
The cover of the album is the yellow and black symbol of the movie.
Yeah, because I was wondering.
It's called Batman or Prince Batman.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I remember that being a big deal like back in the day, and then obviously rewatching it, it was and I tried to pay attention to the music, and it's sort of like I wasn't sure whether is this for the movie or is it just sort of like, well, these songs that Prince made kind of match up, like Party Man or whatever, like it was like kind of matches up, but not quite. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's definitely matchup because the first song is called "The Future" and it's a bunch of clips of Jack Nicholson going, "Think about the future."
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so it is like a companion piece because none of the songs are in the movie.
Oh, weird.
None of them. It's strange. But yeah, just that cultural moment, just like we're hit. This is the summer of Batman.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel like we should comment on Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale and as that sort of love interest character. How do we all feel about that? Just to not gloss over the only female character in the movie.
Yeah, like a lot of. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Oh no, I like her in the role. I think she's an interesting character. I don't mind the romance with her and Bruce. I think, and I mean, one of my changes, just to get a little ahead of myself, would be I don't think Joker should get obsessed with her. I think that's weird and unnecessary. But I also don't think Knox needs to be there. And I like Knox as a character.
110%. Yeah,
I actually like Knox as a character, but if you're going to have Vicky Vale be there, just make her the reporter.
Yeah, that was one of mine.
Again, just to get ahead of ourselves a little bit. Like,
when I was an angry comic book nerd, I actually did not like her at all because I felt that Joker and Batman is like, it's like one of the best hero villain combinations like in basically all of the genre. And I kind of felt that she kind of interfered with that I wanted more Batman and more Joker.
You wanted the romance between Batman and Joker, and she was kind of interfering in that. I get it.
Yeah, exactly, right? I just let them be together. But I mean, I feel like now watching him is sort of like, yeah, I'm on the same, like, I think she has a place in the movie, and obviously, yeah, she's a damsel in distress and whatever. That was the 80s, right? So, I mean, I feel like that's just a time period thing. But yeah, I think she can be there. I think that she just needs... Yeah, just some minor changes, minor tweaks. Gosh, though, I mean, she's a photographer. Like, she's like her apartment is it's a mansion. she shows up to like the scene where she shows up and she introduces herself to Knox, where she's like, "Hey, I want to be your partner," and all of a sudden she's like, "I've got like invites to this party of Bruce Wayne's." It's like, did you just show up in town and just someone drop those in your lap, like superstar, like celebrity photographer? I'm like, this is amazing, like. And then she doesn't take a picture for the first hour of the movie, so it was sort of like, like I think I wrote down, it was like 1 hour, 1:10. She was like, finally takes a photo of something.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that like a good chunk of what is written for her is just sort of being afraid of whatever is happening in front of her, kind of thing. Like whether it's the Joker or whether it's Batman
danger
saving her and all that kind of stuff.
Batman's crazy
like,
driving. Yeah,
like there's no point where I feel like the character is like a confident professional, and I don't think that's not Kim Basinger's fault. This is just like the way that the character is written.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this idea of just giving her all of Knox's stuff to do.
Yeah, more or less.
Might be so. And I think that's a good as place as any to hop into our fixes. Then let's get into it.
On this episode of I Have Some Notes, we'd like to tell you about what's new with our friends at Tell Us Story Hive. Calling on all new and emerging creators in BC and Alberta, Tell Us Story Hive's all-access documentary edition is funding 40 creators with $20,000 each in production funding, mentorship, training, and distribution on TELUS Optic TV. Pitch any documentary idea you're passionate about, and you could be in the running to join the Story Hive community. Apply by May 30th at storyhive.com/apply. This episode of I Have Some Notes is brought to you by the Northwest Fest International Documentary Festival, running in cinema from May 6th to the 14th and online from May 5th to 15th. NWF is thrilled to finally be able to bring the festival back to Metro Cinema this year with an outstanding lineup of some of the year's best docs and a few fun surprises. This year's festival is a hybrid affair with over 20 films screening at Metro Cinema, including the acclaimed Nick Cave music doc, This Much I Know to Be True, along with dozens of feature and short films screening online. Award-winning filmmaker Alexandra O'Philippe will also be in town to present his filmmaking masterclass. This event will be open to the public and is an absolute must for anyone who's ever dreamed of making their own film. Check out the full Northwest Fest film lineup and purchase all-access passes or single tickets at northwestfest.ca.
Welcome back to I Have Some Notes. We have fixes for Tim Burton's Batman. I want to start because I think no one's going to like it, and we can just move on.
Liam's going to cut Batman right off the hop.
Right out of the hop.
Make it a Superman movie.
You know what? Actually, that's changed my mind. That's my note. They should have been building a cinematic universe. They should have had people. Kim Basinger should have been reading the Daily Planet. There should have been some mention of Themyscira. Start building those cinematic universes.
Even
20 years later.
Here's the weird thing, though. That would have been fun just as Easter eggs for comic fans, even if you weren't planning on building a cinematic universe out of it.
That would have been cool.
Speaking of, there was one Easter egg I noticed this time around when I was watching it, is that when Knox is handed the drawing of the Man-Bat as a joke, when they're making fun of him for chasing down the Batman, it's signed by Bob Kane.
Yeah, it's a Bob Kane drawing. That's right.
Cute. Dope. No, my suggestion. Well, first of all, this is just a cut that I think we need to make. It really bothered me how many times the Joker puts on Caucasian makeup to go back to being a normal-looking guy with a weird smile. It happens 2 or 3 times. Like, once to try to, like, sneak into a crowd or get away with something, I get. But it is every time we see him, he is continually covering up his white Joker face, but still with the big weird smile. And I'm like, just own it. Just, like, it was very distracting.
Here's the thing. The one time I think that it works is at the art gallery when he's trying to look normal for Vicky Vale. And then, especially because then you get the reveal where she throws the water in his face and the makeup comes off and it's the Joker face underneath. I think that works. The other times, I agree. didn't really need to happen.
Yeah,
it was just Jack Nicholson didn't want to put on the makeup that day.
Yeah, I actually had forgotten that. Actually, like, you make a good point. Like, I'd forgotten actually that how often he does that. Right? Like, I remember, like I can remember the TV scene of when he's taking over the TV and he's like, I'm going to throw the party and stuff like that. And I remember him, I've taken off my makeup. I remember that, but all the other ones I had forgotten about. And it was kind of like, yeah, like he does this a lot. Like, what's going on? So I mean, like, so I can get behind that guy.
That said, I like the TV appearance because he is so completely full of it. When he's like, I've taken off my makeup. No, you've put on the makeup. Oh, I love it. That's actually really clever writing.
What a villain.
Yeah.
Full of lies. So that's just my one cut, but my main one, if, let's say, we live in a universe where everyone is as tepid on Jack Nicholson as I am. I've got some convoluted moving scenes around, trying to get things done more efficiently that we can get to if there's time. But I'm not even sure I think it pulls too many things start falling out of place the more I move it around, and so I kind of bailed on my Act 1 rewrite essentially. So I'm just coming at you with a recasting.
Sure.
3 alternative choices to Jack Nicholson as the Joker. 1 genuine, 2 really good, but with all the benefit of hindsight. That it's like, yeah, obviously, Liam, it's been 30 some years since this movie came out. Of course, that'd be a great choice. So my first real one, so Jack Nicholson, Tom Baker. The Doctor Who from the 70s, early 80s.
That's an interesting suggestion.
He's got the kind of like weird clownish mannerisms. I think he was restrained by the limitations of British television in the 70s, and I think if you gave that actor a movie budget, he would have done something really cool and unique and memorable with it.
He's tall and lanky, and he's got, and I mean this with all due respect to Tom Baker, he's got the face for it.
Yeah, he's got a creepy smile.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a lower voice, but I think that'd be fun if someone told him to cackle, if it was like, I'm low, I'm the Joker, and then he cackles. And I think he would have done, even if he hadn't done as good a job as Jack Nicholson, he would have, no one would have known who he was, and so he would have just been the Joker. Whereas, if you can't tell me you guys didn't see Jack Nicholson as you're watching that movie. Like, you can't see him fucking grinning at the Lakers and, filling out his bucket list. Like,
I will say this. If you cast Tom Baker as the Joker, you have to recast Batman. Because the star power needs to be in Batman then. Because
no, this is a fantasy myth world.
No, I get that. I get that. I'm just saying, practically speaking, then you'd need to recast Batman as a big star.
Sure. Yeah.
So you can.
And I couldn't come up with any better Batmans, frankly, from that time period. So
can we just make Jack Nicholson the Batman then? Just swap it out.
Sure, why not?
I'm vengeance.
Who are your other 2 suggestions, Liam?
So here's my other 2 suggestions for alternate Jokers in 1989. One would be Tom Waits. So he was making movies in 1989. I believe it's called Candy Mountain is what he was working on that year. And I'm sure you all and our listeners famously know that the Heath Ledger Joker performance was based on a Tom Waits interview that Heath Ledger saw. And a lot of like the choices Heath Ledger makes as the Joker is just based on Tom Waits. So, with all of my 2022 power of hindsight, let's have Tom Waits be the Joker.
For a more accessible Tom Waits, maybe think of Tom Waits as Renfield in Dracula.
Yeah.
For just kind of that level of kind of unhinged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's been an actor all through all the decades, so he could have cast him. And then my third one again, with all the power of hindsight. Have you all ever heard of a movie called hang on. I believe it's called Slipstream?
It sounds familiar, but I might be thinking of SodaStream.
Slipstream. Yeah, not a SodaStream. I had to double check it. Slipstream. Slipstream was a science fiction film from 1989. The first film after 6 years by Mark Hamill. So he was also working as an actor in 1989. Why don't you just he's, in my opinion, Mark Hamill and Heath Ledger are the only 2 guys who have ever absolutely nailed the Joker. They're just, in my mind, those are the 2 guys who are the Joker. And no reason in 1989 Mark Hamill couldn't have been opposite Michael Keaton as the Joker.
Sorry, Heath Ledger. # not my Joker. A fine performance, but eh.
He's definitive for me.
I do agree that Mark Hamill's animated Joker is the definitive Joker, though.
Yeah.
But yes, that is definitely hindsight casting.
Yeah. That is my fix for a problem that doesn't exist, and with all of the hindsight to back it up. But thought I'd kick it off with that.
According to the Internet Trivia Machine, so Robin Williams was actually in talks to play this, but he was actually used kind of as bait in order to get Jack Nicholson. So when Nicholson got the part, Williams was furious, refused to work for Warner Brothers for the next so many years until they apologized to him. And yeah, basically kind of took him, he was refused to be on any sort of projects, Batman related after that. So yeah. And then the other interesting tidbit was that at one point, Tim Burton was looking at casting a very unknown actor by the name of Willem Dafoe as the Joker.
Willem Dafoe definitely also, and with all due respect to Willem Dafoe, has a face for the Joker.
Has the Joker face. Yes.
Has Joker face, yes.
Yeah.
I'm something of a homicide artist myself.
Yeah, there you go.
Willem Dafoe would be a great Joker, for the record.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
I have trouble imagining Robin Williams as the Joker, though. I'm not going to lie.
It would be a very different movie.
Yes.
Because you're putting him into a role where, like, you're asking him to be over the top. The top Robin Williams is something else, and it would not be the same as Jack Nicholson, that's for sure.
And there would be a lot more ad-libbing in this movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I don't think it'd be scary. Like, I don't think he could, he's just too damn likable. He's just too lovable.
Wasn't he scary in that 1 hour photo? Maybe he can turn it on. Who knows?
We'll never know, because we never got to see him play the Joker.
Too bad. It would have been interesting at the very least. Not boring to watch that, I don't think.
Well, my first big fix was obviously what we already said, which was roll Knox and Vicky Vale into the same character. Knox is fun, and I like him, and I like some of the back and forth between him and Vicky, but then it turns into another person who's in love with Vicky, and that's already kind of gross with Joker and Batman. And I mean, it gives her more to do if she's also the investigative reporter, in addition to just taking photos an hour and a half into the movie. My other one was I don't like that they tied Joker into Batman's backstory. I think that that's unnecessary. Batman already has motivation for wanting to take down Joker, and I don't think you need to make it personal like that. I think that I honestly thought that it took me out of the movie a little bit, because it was just like this was especially because it comes in so late. It's like a third act plot twist.
Yeah.
That it's just like I didn't need this. This didn't need to be a thing. I already buy that Batman wants to stop Joker. You didn't need to make it more personal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think because it happens like 4 minutes before the movie ends too. It's sort of just like, yeah, did we need this confrontation now? Could we not have set this up earlier?
Yeah, I would even go as far as to say we didn't even really need the flashback to his parents being killed.
Yeah.
Again, this, you got to remember, this is the first time, other than, Superman the movie, really you got to hold people's hands on some of this stuff, and so I like that they don't start with Martha and Thomas Wayne being killed, and we see Batman grow up to be Batman. I like that that's revealed later. I think you're right, Scott. It doesn't need to be there, but I can absolutely see the impetus of just wanting to kind of tell a nice, complete story, like have everything fold back in nicely on itself. So
I'm okay with Vicky Vale finding out his backstory and the audience getting it through that. I didn't think that it needed that extra bit about the Joker having killed his parents. It wasn't necessary. It didn't add anything for me. I think you can jettison it, and the movie doesn't lose anything for it.
It might have worked slightly better had it been brought up a little bit earlier in the film.
Maybe,
so you get some time to ruminate on it. Like there's, maybe you can make some vague hints to the guy who killed Bruce Wayne's parents was some sort of gangster, so you get a sense of like it might be Jack Napier, right?
You could also have him say because I think they only say it twice, and it might be a rule of three thing. And I also might be wrong, but that dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Yeah, he says it.
Just introduced.
He says
earlier.
He says it when he talks to Bruce in Vicky's apartment just before Act 3 starts. Yeah. And then that's the thing that tips him off. But he's never said it before in the movie.
Do you know where you put it earlier? Before he kills Glisson. Before he kills the mobster.
Yeah.
So the audience has heard it, but nobody else has. And we can go, oh, and then maybe there's even, and this actually, I'm cutting through my Act 1 rewrite that I wasn't going to read. This cuts to the meat of it. I love this. You have a traumatic, sad Bruce Wayne recount his experience to
Vicky, like she's interviewing
him.
Like,
this fucking weirdo was a gangster and he said some haunting thing. I'll never forget it. Did you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Oh, it's haunted my dreams forever. And then we go, oh, fucking like.
You know what would be an interesting twist, actually, is if you have dramatic irony. Batman, like Bruce Wayne, knows that his parents were killed by someone who said, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? And then Jack says, or Joker at that point says it to the mob boss before he kills him, but then never says it again in the movie. And so Batman never finds out that he was the guy. But we know. That's
great.
That would be nuts. I mean, Batman's a detective. He should probably figure it out, but still. Also, kudos to this movie. Batman does some detective work in this movie, and that is something he does not often do in Batman movies.
Batman is the only person in Gotham with a chemistry set where it's sort of like, how was Joker poisoning everyone? We can't figure this out. And he's like, here you go. I figured it out.
Look, Gotham's police are not the best.
No,
they don't do anything in this movie.
No, they can't plan a parade.
They don't even go near the parade.
Yeah, they can't plan their own parade, and they can't stop the other one.
I guess the Joker got his permits.
Yeah, he got his float permit.
The cops in this movie aren't even good at being corrupt cops because they unsuccessfully kill Jack Napier at the behest of the mob boss.
I love the guy who played Eckhart, the corrupt detective. He's just like a great gothic detective. I just loved like his raspy voice, just like how disheveled it is. It was perfect. I loved it.
It's a little stubby cigar.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I like the idea of somehow kind of wrapping Batman up, or at least the Wayne murder kind of in with the mobsters, because that was actually one of my changes. Was sort of like I need some sort of connective tissue between Batman and like the whole of the organized crime, right? So having just some sort of connection, or maybe having some sort of like, one of my notes was having just like, maybe because it's kind of established that this is kind of very early on in the Batmaning, that he's only been out for a little while and no one's really sure who he is, and there's the rumors and stuff. So yeah, maybe having it something to do with the effect of his, and it doesn't have to be a direct connection, but something along the effect of that when his parents were murdered, when that was sort of like the downfall of Gotham, and maybe you've got two simultaneous things happening where you've got the 200th, the bicentennial celebration, but also it's like the something anniversary of the Wayne murders, and maybe that's kind of why Batman's coming out at this time, but also and also like kind of gunning after Grissom already in some way, shape, or form, without even knowing that. Nicholson shot Martha.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be particularly interested in like the gangsters at first, right? And yeah, you don't get a good sense of like his process as the Batman, right? And what he's trying to shut down and who he's trying to fight, kind of thing, he just kind of like, he just seems to more like randomly show up to places.
Yeah, he's not very good at saving people either. I mean, he sort of just doesn't save anyone in the museum when Joker kills everyone in the museum. The parade, a lot of people die in the parade before he shows up with his cool plane, before he takes the balloons. He blows up the chemical factory. Kills everyone inside there. Who knows what damage happened after that? I'm like, he's not good at saving people. He's not good at this.
Look, he's still. We just established it's very early in the Batman. He hasn't mastered
My training wheels is on superhero probation.
Yeah, he's like, look, I have an oath to not kill anyone deliberately.
Yeah.
I didn't know the
Other than all of
factory was
these
gonna
people
explode.
I've killed, I'm not going to shoot anyone
Yeah.
with my hand.
A lot of our listener comments were sort of commenting on this is the murderiest Batman yet. But I was fine. I get why they wanted to blow up a chemical factory. You got to have some action in your movie. I get throwing Joker off a ledge. Like, I know Batman doesn't kill, but weirdly I didn't find it egregious in this movie. I think because it is such a standalone, like, perfect little nugget of its own thing. It's not trying to, again, build a universe or a sequel bait or... Yeah.
I actually did note how many people he killed in this movie and was surprised by it. But...
Yeah. Batman doesn't kill until he does a lot.
I think for me, like I think I'm watching it through my 10-year-old glasses a little bit because I didn't understand. I didn't know at that time that was a part of the Batman ethos is that he didn't kill. So it was just like a normal action movie to me where everybody dies.
Yeah.
You got to kill the villain at the end. That's just what happens.
That's just how a movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit more on some of the connective tissue. This is a small thing that just sort of bugged me, but you don't understand like why the Joker has such an aptitude for chemistry until Bruce Wayne has a throwaway line about that being in his criminal record that he was good at chemistry, and that's why he was able to create this concoction that kills people in combination with different body care things. So I just wish, like, I think it would be so simple just to make a quick change where his lair is very clearly inside the chemical plant.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we have that scene where he's like cutting pictures out and stuff like that, just set that in the chemical plant so we know that he's in there and that's sort of just like something he's noodling around with. Because otherwise it doesn't really, he doesn't seem to be all that connected to the chemical plant other than falling into it. Like it's like, I know that like the mob was sort of like connected to the chemical plant, but he's not, it's not clear that that's what he's up to.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that's solid.
Yeah, most of the things that I would have for like so-called fixes for this movie would be relatively minor because I think it's a pretty decent action movie for the most part. That doesn't really need to be like any sort of like major reworkings or anything. Like it's for an 80s action movie, it's got probably more plot than most of them have had, right? So
can I cut the part where Alfred just invites Vicky into the cave? just by the way, here she is. I'm gonna break your secret for you. Here you go.
Again, it's early in the Batman mythos. We need to set some boundaries with Alfred. When I said no one, I meant no one.
Like gee whiz.
Not even Gary? No, not Gary.
In fairness to Alfred, Bruce was going to reveal to Vicky of his own volition that he was Batman and got interrupted. So,
true.
I mean, it's forgivable because he was already going to tell her, and then Alfred is just like, yeah, no, he's Batman. Come on.
Somewhere in an alternate universe, that scene plays out in like a Seinfeld fashion where they just start yelling at each other, like, I thought you were going to tell her you were the Batman. And, like,
I was going to tell her I was the Batman.
Yeah.
I want to do it on my terms. Yeah.
It does make for a good joke in the sequel when he talks about letting Vicky Vale into the Batcave willy-nilly. Yeah, so it's fine. It's I don't really care for most of the 80s thrown in romance subplots. Most of them suck. This one's not really any different. And especially with Batman, I just kind of like Batman without love interest. It kind of works for the Nolan stuff, I guess, but like after watching the latest Batman, like I kind of like it better when the only sort of like romance thing that he's got going on is with a potentially a villainous character, because I think that's much more interesting for Batman. Like he's just he's so out for justice, and yet like he's being tempted by
Catwoman, Talia al Ghul, yeah.
Yeah, it just makes a great addition to his character.
Yeah. At the very least, I like what Scott said about just having the Joker not get hot for Vicky, because that's now every male in the movie goes ogles her and gets horny for her.
And I mean,
that's not a
Joker has motivation to go after her if she's the reporter who's reporting on Batman. Like that's good enough. That's good enough for him to want to kidnap her in the third act. So you don't really need for him to be obsessed with her.
Yeah.
No, I think we fixed it. It is a pretty tight movie. Ties up all its loose ends. Any nitpicks are obvious. Yeah, I like it. I'm assuming nobody else had any further.
No,
if you did, I was just like, we're done this part now. Sweet.
Nope, that's pretty much it. Other than
the question is, Liam, did our listeners have fixes?
Yes, it's they certainly did. They certainly had thoughts. Thank you to everyone who submitted. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter at I Have Some Notes, and on Instagram at I Have Some Notes Pod. You comment, we read them. Let's do it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read them. Aaron Beaver, I agree with this comment quite a bit. More Prince. All caps, more Prince. The fact that he wrote a whole album and they didn't even give him a little cameo, like a little Vanilla Ice and Secret of the Ooze, moment, was strange.
I actually want to jump a little ahead in the listener comments, because I think that ties directly into later on when Muncie comments, instead of Danny Elfman and Prince doing separate soundtracks, force them to collaborate somehow. I think that's right. I think that Aaron and Muncie are both correct here. Danny Elfman and Prince should have worked together and created something with more Prince. On the other hand, then we wouldn't have this iconic and epic Danny Elfman score, but still.
Mm-hmm. Professor J says, no way Alfred should have gave up the secrets to Vicky after meeting her twice. Yeah.
I can also comment on Alfred. Alfred's one hell of a gopher, because there's that scene earlier on where Bruce says, Alfred, go get everything from the police that they have on Jack Napier, and he's just like, all right, and just takes off and comes back with the file, and they never kind of he just went and asked for it. He just is there a filing system somewhere they have? It made me laugh just because he shows up with here's that file I found for you from the police. They just, again, police are not very good.
No, apparently not, because a very old man just walked in and took a bunch of files.
I mean, 30 years later, Alfred's still going to do some of the detective work for Batman.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler, but in The Batman, Andy Serkis shows up with a bunch of clues in a scene.
Yeah.
So, Alfred's on
He's the real Batman.
Here's the thing. I am okay with Batman and Alfred being a team. I'm very okay with Alfred actively helping Batman in his detective work. But I kind of agree that this is weird in that he's just go get the thing, and then he shows back up with the thing. Maybe add a scene there where he gets the thing. There's a bit missing.
Yeah.
Jay Runham says, what if Batman was played by that guy from Twilight, Alfred was played by Gollum from Lord of the Rings, and the Joker was the Irish dude from Eternals? Just spitballing.
Jay, this movie was made in 1989.
Yeah.
And none of those things were things yet. In fact, I think two of those things weren't born yet.
Yeah, both those guys are my age. Chris says, Batman 89 would have been the perfect time to turn Alfred into ALFRED, the talking Batmobile.
Yes.
Alfred spelled out an acronym.
And if he was voiced by Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World.
I'm just yes-anding all of this.
Jeff Samsonow says, it's not actually that out of place with whatever phase of the MCU we're currently in. It has a good sense of its source material, some humor throughout, an excellent villain, and entertaining action sequences. The romance is meh, if not dodgy in hindsight.
I think we all agree with Jeff there.
Yep.
Renee comments, change the dynamic and motivations between Batman, Vicky Vale, and Joker. Someone's infecting Gotham's prominent, powerful elite with a substance that causes them to laugh bizarrely while making the most bizarre and indecipherable political and business proclamations, and Vale is out to drive the culprit into the limelight where the Cape Crusader is waiting to take him down. No need for white knighting or damsel in distress, just a reporter working under unorthodox conditions as her editor and publisher have both fallen to the Joker syndrome.
I mean, that's a solid beginning to the movie, actually.
Yeah.
It cuts out the Joker origin a little bit. I think it's interesting if Vicky maybe starts on the Batman and then this more interesting case with Joker shows up. Maybe that's the way to do it. When Joker becomes a thing. I don't know. There's definitely a good idea here, though.
I bailed on like I said, I had machinations for a Act 1 rewrite that I just couldn't quite get stacked, but my version of this movie also cuts most of the Joker's origin and has Batman uncover it later.
That's fair.
As opposed to watching it all happen in the first act of the movie.
And I mean, I'm almost more okay with that than getting the flashback to Thomas and Martha getting murdered.
Yeah.
Having a flashback to the Joker becoming the Joker.
Jeff Samsonow, again, thinking on it more, the villains in Burton's Batman are some of the most entertaining comic book movies, period. Cate Blanchett is probably the best example of crushing it while chewing scenery since then. I'm ignoring the grittier movies here.
I agree, and it's almost a shame that they kill the Joker off at the end of this movie, because, I mean, the more iconic place for the Joker to end up is to go and cool his heels at Arkham Asylum for a while before his next heist. I get that they're not expecting a sequel, so they're kind of trying, as Greg put it earlier, to tell a complete story, and the more complete story is that the Joker's reign of terror ends rather abruptly and finally off the top of a building. But, yeah, like, it's kind of a shame that he died at the end of the movie, because he could have turned up in a sequel if there was a sequel.
Is there any Batman villain in this era of the Batman movies that lives?
Catwoman.
Catwoman. That's right, yeah.
And then once we get into the Schumacher ones, they don't generally die. I think Two-Face is the one exception there.
Oh, yeah, does Edward... I don't remember if Edward Nygma lives or not.
He's a crazy person in Arkham Asylum at the end, but he survives.
Yeah.
Okay. I just have this vision of like movies of this era just always killing the villain no matter what.
Always off a high ledge.
Sort of like mistaken there.
Or turning Bane into a plant monster.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Harley Muncie says, maybe Batman does less murders or double down and give him a gun.
I mean, he has 2 guns in the Batmobile, as I recall.
Oh, yeah, he's fond of his guns. It's on the Batmobile, the Batplane. Yeah. I still don't understand at the scene at the end where, he's in the bell tower. And, the guy does the flips, and he, has the knives in his boots, and Batman sticks out his hand, and something pops out. What was that popped out of his thing? Was it just
Doorstop.
Yeah, it happened so quickly.
His bat palm guard.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It's was from a skateboard. Is that what it was? His wrist guards, and that was it.
He's kind of like a little bit of a Inspector Gadget, in a way. He gets more and more like that as those movies progress into the Schumacher era.
Yeah. I will say this. I remember playing a DC role-playing game years and years and years ago. I don't even remember what the system was. It was a very old DC role-playing game. And I was playing Batman in the little adventure that we were running through. And one of Batman's powers was, in addition to this long list of equipment that he had on him, because he's Batman, and he's a gadget guy, and he has all sorts of stuff, there were 6 slots that were just, this is whatever you need at the time that you need it. That was part of his superhero kit, is just because Batman's a master planner and he's always got the right tool on the job. There were 6 empty slots which you could fill in as you needed it with what you needed in that moment. And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly
Shark
Batman.
repellent.
Yeah, that's where your shark repellent comes in. And the GM, a good GM, would just be like, yeah, of course you've got that. You're Batman.
Love it. Alex B comments, make it brighter. It's so dark. I can't see half of what's going on. Maybe neon and rave music for sure. Oh, and the Batsuit has to have some nipples, obviously.
That's not even the stuff I dislike about the Joel Schumacher movies. Schumacher was trying to recapture some of the 60s camp from Batman, and that's why, you've got all the Dutch angles, and you've got the more witty banter between Batman and Robin. I get what he was going for. It's just, he was very bad at doing it, and the movies were not good.
They just kind of, I think they're they're just like a type of camp that I'm not into, or just maybe that just wasn't executed well enough to really, yeah. And I think because it strays so far from what Tim Burton started out with that, you know, it's maybe just too much of a change in expectations for the audience.
Yeah, especially because they were being set up as sequels to the Tim Burton Batman movies, right? Like they are canonically what happens next. And there's such tonal whiplash between them that I think that turned off a lot of people for sure.
I was going to say the one thing I always felt even about is and I kind of circle back to my comment about Nicholson and the Joker about how he kind of almost overwhelms everything. Is I kind of felt that his same energy was they tried to repeat that all the way through. So even when you get to Batman Returns, you've got the Penguin as being this very verbose, kind of campy, kind of caricature, which is not really kind of his character type. But then obviously as you get into the Schumacher, it's just sort of, you're kind of just taking that same sort of that style and just applying it, sort of like copy pasting it to every villain as you move forward. So yeah,
again,
and I think
with the Schumacher ones, he was reaching back to the Adam West 60s Batman. And if you watch those episodes, every villain is like that because it's some big star that they invited to come and dress up in a costume and have fun for a day. Yeah. And so they're all just completely chewing all the scenery and hamming it up and doing these big over the top characters, whether they're playing the Joker or the Penguin or the Riddler or whoever. And that's 100% what Joel Schumacher was going for. It's just that he was bad at doing it.
Yeah.
We don't have time to get into it, but I have a very soft spot for Batman Forever. It was
#Liam's Batman
for me. Yeah.
I know like a lot of people crap on Jim Carrey's performance on that. But I was a Jim Carrey fan at that time, and I still dig his shtick.
Oh yeah, of the two villains in that movie, he is not the worst of them. And it should have been Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, keep it canonical. Yeah, c'est la vie. That's been 100 episode fixes. We obviously get comments on our movies and the fixes therein. But longtime listener, just absolutely appreciate the support from this fellow. We have a listener comment just on 100 episodes at large from the one and only Nathan Martin. Nathan comments, "Oh damn, I'm always so bad at this. Trying to remember specific parts of things I enjoy. I actually thought I had a good memory, but then I went back to the episode list and realized that I think I just made that memory up." Which is really weird. I just love listening to the show. Have been for a long time, and I say keep going. Well, thank you, Nathan.
I love the show. Can't remember anything about it. Super good. Keep going, you guys. We also got a message from Three Kitchens podcast to our fellow APN members. So let's play that.
This is Sarah.
This is Erin.
And Heather.
From Three Kitchens podcast.
Congratulations! Congratulations on 100 episodes.
And cheers to 100 more.
We're definitely not doing 100 more. It took us 6 years to get to 100. Like, I cannot imagine doing this.
Never say
for
never,
another
Greg.
6 years.
Never say never. We'll get to the point where our kids are old enough that they can come on and guest in episodes.
Sure, yeah. We'll be reviewing Peppa Pig or whatever the big thing is.
We're saving orphan boys from the circus to come take on the mantle of talking about podcasts no one asked, or talking about movies no one asked us to talk about.
It's a family tradition and you're going to accept it. Dang it.
Yeah.
I have some notes, Junior.
Yeah, there you go. The next generation.
I have some notes, the next generation. I love it.
Thank you very much for being on the show, Colin.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Congratulations again for all of your guys' the hard work, and that's a lot of movies to watch. A lot of sub not great movies. So congratulations to all you guys, and keep going. I think it's a lot of fun.
Sweet. Anything else you want to plug?
No, I got really nothing going on. I'm on Instagram at Colin MacIntyre Draws, and that's pretty much it. Where I'm just it's all about the Oiler fan control panel this week. So that's all I got going.
You're still doing like pinup drawings and stuff like that?
Yeah, just still dabbling in some artwork and just general silliness. So really not much different over the past 6 years. Just on the Instagram now.
Well, wherever it is you are listening to this episode, we encourage you to please give us a review, a like, a subscribe. It really does help us out. Whatever button they want you to press, give us a press about it.
Hey, you know who might have made a better Batman? Tony Danza. That's certainly what Repodcasting might have suggested. Hosts Janet and Lucia recast your favorite and not so favorite movies. You can find them right now at albertapodcastnetwork.com.
And what movie we'll be doing for 101? No idea just yet. Keep an eye on our social media. We'll put up a poll, and we'll have you vote on the next film.
Until then, I'm your host, Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
I'm Greg Beaver. Keep watching the skies!
For the Bat Singer.